Chapter 1, Ashes of Betrayal. It was that fateful day in the twilight when the city, shrouded in the mist of pre-dawn secrets, stood waiting for change, unaware that fate was already preparing a lesson in cruel irony. In the narrow corridors of power and the power of fate, Trump, like an inexorable petrel, decisively paved the way for a new era, cutting off ties with those who had served the law and honor for years. Former FBI agents, whose lives were intertwined with duty and loyalty, were thrown into the abyss of oblivion, like statues destroyed by the sudden tide of a hateful fate. Their careers, built on a foundation of faith in justice, collapsed in an instant, leaving behind only dust and the debris of lost hopes. On the day the Lord of Change's resolve fell upon their world, each agent felt betrayal pierce their hearts, leaving deep wounds that never healed from the pain of loss. Step by step, as if under the weight of an invisible force, they watched as their dreams and ideals, cultivated over the years, turned to ash under the hot flames of a new policy. Voices that once sounded like a confident hymn of justice dissolved into an echo of cold orders, leaving only silence and the bitter taste of betrayal. Every word spoken in that moment echoed with betrayal, like a broken string, leaving behind only echoes of past glory. The gray offices, where work on restoring order had once been in full swing, now seemed like deserted alleys, where time stood still in anticipation of a miracle that could never be returned. Faces, once full of determination and nobility, were distorted by pain and resentment, turning into masks that reflected only pain and longing for a lost duty. In every glance, in every wrinkled curve, a deep wound could be traced that could not be mended with words or promises. Betrayal, like an invisible poisonous gas, penetrated every cell of their being, leaving behind only the ashes of trust and the scorched remains of devotion. In this chaos of emotions, where time seemed to stand still to capture the moment of a fateful blow, memories of past exploits and honest battles for justice became a heavy burden. They recalled how days and nights filled with sincere devotion to the cause gave way to the hopeless darkness of disappointment. A spark of revenge was born in their hearts, quiet but unquenchable, like a light at the end of a long tunnel, where every tear became a drop, and every pain, fuel for a fire that would one day flare up with destructive force. This fire, born from the depths of resentment, promised to change the course of events, turning a personal tragedy into an epic saga of retribution. In the dark corridors where the echoes of the past mingled with the shadows of the present, the agents began to realize that their journey did not end with this insult, but was only gaining momentum. Every lost minute, every broken promise became a step on the road to a new chapter in their lives, a chapter in which fate, like a sculptor, chisels out of the marble of anger and determination a form capable of avenging betrayal. They felt a storm brewing within them, slowly accumulating the strength that would one day break out and change the familiar course of history. This storm, like an ancient prophecy, promised to restore lost dignity and bring with it retribution for the cruelty of the merciless severance of ties. The former agents looked into the void where the fire of justice had once burned, and now there remained only the shadow of a lost faith. But it was this shadow that became their secret ally, a source of strength that could not be measured by money or titles. In the depths of their souls, where the rust of resentment mingled with the fragile spark of hope, an understanding was born: revenge is not simply an act of destruction, but a purifying fire that can burn away old bonds and give rise to a new dawn. They swore that one day they would answer those who turned their backs on duty and honor, that one day their destiny would take a new shape, capable of changing the laws of the world. And so, against the fading light of the last day of an old era, in the quiet of the city before dawn, the former agents, abandoned to their fate, stood like ancient guardians of an abandoned temple. In their hearts burned a fire that no one could extinguish, not even the fiercest winds of change. Each of them was a spark, ready to flare into a flame of vengeance when the time came, and then their voices, merging into a single chorus, would echo through the streets and alleys, bringing down their judgment on those who had once turned their backs on them. In that dark dawn, in the dust of betrayal and insult, the first spark of their new destiny was born, a destiny in which every step would be imbued with a thirst for retribution and the promise that even the cruelest blow could be the beginning of a great rebellion against injustice. Thus began their quiet but determined path, leading through the labyrinths of pain and oblivion, to a new world, where the ashes of betrayal will turn into the basis for future retribution, and the hidden revenge will find its embodiment in every breath and every heartbeat, ready one day to illuminate the darkness with their unbridled power and return the lost dignity. Chapter 2, Shadows of Conspiracies. When New York City at night is shrouded in a mysterious twilight, and the glitter of neon signs gives way to shadows, ancient forces of intrigue begin to awaken in the narrow alleys and abandoned surroundings of old buildings. It is at this moment, when the city freezes in anticipation of the coming turbulent change, that former FBI agents, expelled from their former roles, gather secretly and elusively to regain their lost voice and restore justice. Their meeting is not just an accident, but a carefully planned act of conspiracy, where every word and look is filled with determination to avenge the betrayal that left deep wounds in their hearts. Through the haze of the night, in hidden corners where flickering lights reflect on wet asphalt, those who once swore to defend the truth gather, and now, deprived of honor and trust, become shadows of their former glory. Their faces, hidden under hoods and in the semi-darkness, express not only the pain of loss, but also the bitter promise of retribution. Each step on the cobblestones is accompanied by a quiet rustle of memories of the days when their hearts beat in unison with justice, and now this rhythm has been replaced by a heavy echo of disappointment. Glances turned to the cold skies seem to seek answers in the stars, where long-forgotten oaths and promises of revenge are reflected. In one of the old buildings, dilapidated and covered with time, in a hall with dim lamplight, those who decided to turn the bitterness of loss into a weapon have gathered. Here, behind walls imbued with the spirit of abandoned secrets, the details of the plan of revenge are discussed. Whispers, like a quiet rain, fall on the cold walls, and each sound becomes a symbol of an ancient conspiracy born in the hearts of the offended. A neon glow flickering behind narrow windows, serves only as a shadow accent, emphasizing the duality of what is happening. Here at the same time there is a gentle awakening of hope and an icy breath of revenge. In this space, where every move is measured by the elusive force of determination, former agents regain their confidence. They discuss how every word spoken before became a harbinger of fateful changes, and how their path is now paved not only with resentment, but also with a firm determination to restore justice. Here, under the sounds of the distant city rumble, orders are forged from pain and experience, and plans for retribution are built like a complex mechanism in which each gear is a promise to restore lost dignity. Secret meetings become an altar on which old bonds of betrayal are burned, giving way to a new era where truth gains the power to destroy lies. The shadows of conspiracies, like invisible threads, begin to tie together the fates of former agents, creating a network in which each knot is evidence of their irreconcilable enmity with those who destroyed their world. In their voices, one can hear not only an echo of bygone times, but also a fresh cry of the soul, ready to turn pain into a weapon and erase forever the traces of humiliation. The sounds of footsteps, the echo of laughter and the rustle of unfamiliar voices in the night become conductors of this ancient force, awakening in each participant in the conspiracy the feeling that their cause is not just personal revenge, but a fight to restore lost justice, to return the lost trust in the power of truth. In the narrow corridors of abandoned offices, in dimly lit cafes and on the shadowy steps of old buildings where time has stood still, they meet again, like phantoms of the past, ready to rise again and reclaim what was once taken away by the ruthless hand of power. Each of them bears a deep scar from the bitterness of dismissal, and this scar has now become a badge of distinction, a sign of those who disagree with injustice, who are ready to turn their pain into fuel for a great reckoning. With each new meeting, with each new discussion, the atmosphere heats up, turning into living proof that even in the deepest shadows the spark of retribution is brewing. The night streets, lit only by rare lights, become an arena for quiet conversations, where every word is weighty and every pause is filled with meaning. Here, under the cover of darkness, agents hatch a plan that, like a carefully constructed mechanism, will work flawlessly. Their plans and intrigues spread like a quiet whisper on the wind, reaching the most unexpected corners of the city. This is a game of shadows, where every detail takes on significance and every look can tell more than 1,000 words. In this mysterious dialogue, where nonverbal communication speaks louder than formal orders, a new form of protest is born, a protest based on deep inner strength and an unshakable belief in the truth. Thus, among the noisy streets and quiet alleys, in the labyrinths of shadows and light, former FBI agents begin their dangerous game, where conspiracies take shape, and their every step becomes hostage to fate. The shadows of conspiracies are not just a symbol of betrayal, but also a call for the revival of honor, for the restoration of justice, drowned in the whirlwind of power and ruthless decisions. Their meeting at this hour becomes the beginning of a new era, where even the deepest wounds can turn into weapons capable of destroying the old order and to awaken faith in change in people. And in this eternal dance of light and darkness, where fate plays on the edge of the possible, they swear that they will never forget the pain of loss and will always be ready to answer those who betrayed their faith, giving every drop of their soul for the right to justice. Chapter 3: Whirlwind of Vengeance. At that moment, when the darkness of night swallowed the remnants of daylight, a storm was born in the hearts of former FBI agents, capable of sweeping away outdated orders and returning lost dignity. In their souls, as in the depths of ancient volcanoes, an unceasing passion for vengeance boiled, and every heartbeat echoed the ancient vows given in the days when honor was above all. These grievances, accumulated over the years, turned into an uncontrollable whirlwind, in which each memory of betrayal became a spark that ignited the flame of revenge. The pain of loss and betrayal, like a dense fog, enveloped their souls, but at the same time it fed the fire of determination, which turned into a rapid stream, ready to sweep away all obstacles on the path to the restoration of justice. In the cramped corners of abandoned offices and on the shadowy streets of the metropolis, they gathered in silent conspiracy, where every word had the weight of an ancient spell, and every glance, the meaning of a sign of fate. In the dim light of flickering lamps, reflected from dusty walls, they exchanged whispers, like ancient prophets passing on knowledge from mouth to mouth. Here, surrounded by forgotten time, flashed the images of those who once served the truth, and now their memory became fuel for a new uprising. Every word spoken in these secret meetings penetrated the very depths of the soul, causing a storm of emotions, where hope was intertwined with bitterness, and faith in justice, with the shadow of betrayal. Their eyes lit up with a determination like a fierce star piercing the darkness. They began to hatch a plan as complex and multilayered as a web woven by the invisible hand of fate. Threads of intrigue and secret maneuvering wove together into a fragile but irresistible pattern, each knot representing a moment when their lives were shattered, each twist a reminder of how much they had paid for their belief in justice. Under cover of night, when the city waited for change, these men who had been cast out of trust came together to turn their pain into a weapon that would crush those who had once rejected their honor. Their voices echoed the days of old, when they wore their uniforms with pride and believed in the power of the law. Now, filled with the fire of vengeance, they swore oaths that would make the most arrogant quail. Words full of determination, like the commands of ancient warriors entering battle against the darkness, where every blow of the sword was a symbol of the struggle for lost ideals. Their conversations, saturated with metaphors and allegories, became hymns of the unconquered spirit, and every word a brick in the wall of their common vengeance. And so, that night, under the cover of a sky strewn with stars, they laid the foundations of a new era, where past betrayals were transformed into fuel for future triumph. Between whispers and silences, between shadows and reflections of light, a strategy was born, as cunning and elusive as fate itself. Each of them, like an ancient hermit, peered into the dark corners of his mind, searching for a spark that could ignite the flame of revenge. Their plans were built on the basis of personal tragedies, folded into a single canvas where every loss was a sign, and every pain a promise of future retribution. They drew strength from their suffering, transforming it into a powerful impulse that promised to change the course of history. In a whirlwind of revenge, like a deadly dance, their destinies intertwined, and every step, every thought became part of a grandiose plan capable of shaking the foundations of power and restoring lost respect. Under cover of night, when the streets of New York were filled with the barely perceptible sounds of the approaching storm, the agents began to act. Their movements were precise and measured, like those of ancient warriors who knew the value of every second. They thought through every step, every action, as if they were playing chess with fate, where every piece could become a decisive element in the fight for truth. Every meeting, every gathering was conducted with the same care, like a ritual capable of opening the gates of retribution. Their union, cemented by a common bitter experience, acquired the strength to destroy the walls erected by traitors and revive that part of the soul that had been lost in the abyss of injustice. In this whirlwind of revenge, where emotions merged with cold calculation, a new reality was born, in which each of them became not just a victim, but an active participant in a great drama. With their determination, they challenged not only those who rejected them, but also time itself, capable of erasing even the deepest scars. Their plan, like an ancient prophecy, took shape and strength, preparing to crush a world where betrayal reigned with impunity. Every detail of the plan reflected their belief that even the cruelest injustice will not go unanswered, that even in the thickest darkness there will always be a spark capable of igniting the flame of retribution. Thus, the whirlwind of vengeance gained its strength in the hearts of former agents, turning into a storm ready to sweep away the old order and mend the wounds of the past with the fiery energy of justice. Their united will became a force capable of shaking the foundations of the world, where truth would rise again from the ashes of lost honor, and revenge, born in the depths of pain, would become a light capable of dispelling the darkness of betrayal. And at the moment when their determination reaches its climax, the entire city will echo with their oaths, heralding the dawn of a new era in which even the most ancient wounds will have a chance to heal under the hot flames of retribution. Chapter 4: Flames of Despair. When the New York night sky, shrouded in a thick veil of darkness, began to cast only rare reflections of moonlight, the flames of despair flared up in the hearts of former FBI agents, turning into an unstoppable force of vengeance. This flame carried both destructive rage and painful contemplation of loss, reflecting the full depth of betrayal they experienced on the day of their dismissal. It was in these moments, when every drop of night dew seemed like a shard of former hope, that their souls, engulfed in darkness, ignited with an unbridled determination to erase the traces of shame, forever change the course of history and restore their lost dignity. Under the vaults of abandoned corridors of ancient buildings, where the echo of footsteps became a hymn of pain and memories, agents gathered in secret corners to discuss the final preparations for their retribution. In these gloomy halls, where time seemed to stand still, and every speck of dust reflected hard fates, their voices merged into a single chorus of despair sounding like an ancient spell. Words filled with grief and anger flew through the space like tongues of flame engulfing dry grass in a rush of indomitable force. Each participant in these meetings felt his heart ablaze with a fire that no cold wind of power could extinguish, and each phrase became an oath of retribution against those who once rejected them, betrayed their faith and destroyed their careers. That night, the city seemed to hold its breath, anticipating the coming storm in which the flames of despair would burst forth and tear apart the foundations of the old system. In the deserted streets, under the dim light of the street lamps, their footsteps sounded like a march toward the inevitable clash. Every street and alley, every silhouette reflected in the shop windows became witness to the birth of a new era in which betrayal took the form of fiery retribution. It was here, in the heart of the concrete labyrinth of the metropolis, that the spark was kindled that could transform the silence of the night into a roaring storm, where the sounds of sirens and the rumble of distant cars merged with an unquenchable determination for revenge. In underground passages and abandoned warehouses, where time seemed to stand still, the agents honed their plans like blacksmiths forged in the fire of pain and resentment. Every movement, every word was filled with hidden meaning, as if they were communicating in a language of ancient symbols, understandable only to those who had experienced betrayal. Here, in the intimate darkness, images of days gone by emerged, moments when loyalty and honor were sacred concepts, and betrayal was torn to pieces, leaving deep wounds in which the determination to restore justice was now born. The flames of despair, feeding on pain and resentment, penetrated every cell of their existence, turning into not only a symbol of revenge, but also a catalyst for a new awakening, a new understanding of true values, when the price of betrayal becomes a measure of the greatness of the soul. With each new gathering, with each secret meeting, the fire of retribution grew brighter. Faces wounded by deception began to reflect not only traces of pain, but also reflections of determination, as if light were breaking through the thickness of the night. Their hands, clenched into fists, seemed to be squeezing the energy of thousands of unspoken words, and their eyes burned with a fire ready to burn away all obstacles on the path to justice. In these moments, when their breath froze in anticipation of the decisive blow, it seemed that nature itself entered into an alliance with their inner flame, giving them the strength necessary to destroy old worlds and build new bastions of truth. There was no time for doubt or hesitation. The flames of despair had already turned into a storm capable of sweeping away the foundations of the old power. Their plans, honed in the silence of the pre-dawn hours, took shape in a precise and ruthless plan in which every detail was calculated down to the smallest nuances. The sounds of footsteps, the rustle of documents and barely audible voices from the depths of the night formed a symphony of vengeance, where the rhythm of each agent's heart merged with the blow of fate. This was not just a preparation for an attack, it was a ritual ascension, when pain and resentment turned into a fire capable of sweeping away old boundaries and erasing the traces of shame left by the carelessness and cruelty of previous leaders. In the midst of preparation, an internal struggle flared up. Each of them was looking for that spark that could transform a personal tragedy into a collective force that would restore justice. A fire burned in their souls that did not allow them to forget the insults, but on the contrary, spurred them on to action. The flame of despair became for them a symbol not only of destruction but also purification. It promised to burn away old wounds, leaving behind a clean slate for a new story in which they would no longer be victims, but masters of their own destiny. Their determination was so ruthless that even the cold rays of the morning sun, breaking through the dark clouds, could not dampen the flames flaring in their hearts. Under the sounds of the night city, in these distant and forgotten corners of the metropolis, the flames of despair were gaining more and more strength, becoming a harbinger of the coming uprising. Every look, every hard line on their exhausted faces spoke of the fact that the time for revenge had come, and nothing could stop the inevitable flow of retribution. This storm, born in the depths of the soul, promised to restore lost dignity, turning pain into a weapon and rage into a desire for a new era, where power and honor would be distributed according to laws that were unshakable and eternal. So, at this turning point, when the flames of despair engulfed their souls, the former FBI agents, like fiery phoenixes, prepared for the last, decisive step. Their united will and unquenchable fire, spurred on by the pain of loss, were soon to turn into a powerful retribution, capable of erasing the traces of betrayal and returning justice to a world where power could no longer be bought with lies and deceit. And it was on this night, filled with disturbing premonitions and the sounds of an impending storm, that the flames of despair became not only a symbol of revenge, but also the beginning of a new legend, in which every drop of blood and every spark of pain would be recorded in the annals of the eternal struggle for honor and justice. Chapter 5: Echoes of Vengeance. As the first rays of dawn cut through the darkness of the night, New York City awoke, exhausted but unbroken after a storm that had left deep scars and unforgettable echoes of change in its streets. The echo of retribution, born in the hearts of former agents, echoed throughout the city, echoing in every alley, every abandoned building, and every storefront where the shadows of the past once played. This echo was more than just a sound. It became a living reminder that even in the deepest darkness of betrayal, the light of truth can be born, and that shattered dreams can become the foundation for the rebirth of justice. The awakening of the metropolis was accompanied by the whispers of those who saw how time was measuring out retribution for past grievances. The city streets, recently full of desperate pain and silent revenge, now seemed like an arena for a new drama, where every spark of morning light became a symbol of the victory of the spirit over cruel decisions. People hurrying along the sidewalks involuntarily stopped for a moment to catch this subtle but powerful call, the call of those who did not agree to accept injustice, who carried in their hearts the fire of retribution, capable of burning away any barriers. Former agents, once rejected and betrayed, now became invisible guardians of a new era. Their path, paved with the pain of loss and fiery determination, left an unforgettable mark on the soul of the city. They did not shout about their victory, did not strive for public triumph. Their strength lay in quiet but inexorable action, in the ability to tremble even the most stony hearts of those who committed betrayal. Every step they took, every shadow flickering on the walls of old buildings became a reminder that true retribution is born deep within the soul and spreads like a wave, washing away the remnants of old mistakes and pain. Urban legends began to fill with tales of mysterious figures who, in the darkness of the night, like shadows of the past, paved the way for justice. In alleys, in old buildings where time seemed to stand still, stories were whispered of how one unstoppable impulse of revenge turned into an act of purification. These stories, like silent prayers on the lips of those who had once suffered under the cruelty of the system, became a new mythology in which justice did not rest on the surface, but matured deep within everyone who dared to dream of justice. Against this new dawn, quiet but determined voices were raised, voices that would transform pain into strength, despair into creation. The echo of retribution permeated the city like a gentle but sure rhythm that millions of lives followed. It echoed in the sounds of the subway, in the echoes of footsteps on the pavement, in the flickering of neon signs, reminding us that nothing escapes the attention of fate, and that every loss can become a source of a new beginning. The city, lost in reflection and memory, accepted this call like an ancient ritual of purification, where the ashes of old grievances were transformed into convenient fuel for the rebirth of hope. The inner world of the former agents, tormented by injustice, was reflected in every sound of the new day. They did not seek public glory, their victory was silent, like the sound of a raindrop falling on the roof of an ancient building, but at the same time it was deafening, like a clap of thunder awakening sleeping hearts. Their retribution was not a chaotic act of destruction, but a methodical, almost ritualistic revival of an inner strength that could change the course of history. Their every thought, every action was dictated not only by the pain of the past, but also by the dream of a future where justice would not be an empty phrase, but a living reality. Under the cover of a new day, when the first rays of the sun began to break through the light haze of the morning clouds, the echo of retribution became more and more noticeable. It sounded in the voices of ordinary passers-by who, even without knowing the whole story, felt in themselves the echoes of changes that could change the world. On the streets, where time seemed to stand still, and in every window reflecting the light of a new beginning, a quiet promise sounded: even the deepest wound can heal if it is treated not only by pain, but also by the desire for justice. The city acquired a new color, one where every brick, every crack in the old walls became symbols not only of past losses, but also of future victories. Thus the echo of retribution, tender and at the same time unyielding, became part of the new landscape of the metropolis. It carried the memory of the betrayal that gave birth to this fire, and at the same time the promise that even the deepest wounds can turn into a pledge of a great rebirth. The silence of the new morning, filled with the sounds of the city, seemed like an endless symphony, where every sound, every melody was woven from hope and determination. The echo of retribution continued to sound, spreading through the streets like a blessing for the return of justice, promising that the past will not be forgotten, and every blow of fate will become a step towards a new dawn, where truth and honor will once again find their place in the hearts of people.